Hello, and thanks for joining me on this episode of Simply Saturday. For today's Fast and Easy card, we are using another stamp set that is on the last chance list. Now, last week's stamp set, Ocean Friends, was as well. And I mentioned that I was heartbroken because I really love that set and didn't have enough time to play with it before it is going away. And this set, I kind of feel the same way. I have used it quite a bit. Although I've never used the flower stamp before today, I used a bunch of the other ones. Um, and the dies that are available that go with this are just so incredibly cool in the kinds of cards that you can make, because you can make cards that are active in that you peel them open, or pop the front off. They're really amazing. And so right now, the Hooray for Surprises stamp set is on the last chance list, and it is discounted to $16. And the coordinating dies, also appearing on the last chance list, are discounted to $12.80. I mean, the only way you can go wrong is to not take advantage of getting this stamp set and coordinating dies while they're on the discount. All right, so we are not using the dies today, but we are making a fast and easy card. We are going to be using Lemon Lime Twist and Lemon Lolly as our colors. The one thing that I'm using today that is not on the last chance list is the set of dies. And these dies are also wonderful. These are going to be around in my collection for a long, long time because they are generic enough, since they're just rectangles, that they can just do a lot. And yet they're fancy because they have these little edges. So these are called Textured Notes dies. And we're using this tiny little rectangle. We're going to use that one today. But these are really something. Very excited about them. They're rather new-ish, let's say. And I encourage you to make sure that these are part of your collection. So when you do your order in the next day or so, make sure that you put Textured Notes dies and also Hooray for Surprises, both the stamp set and the dies, on your order. All right, my card base is Lemon Lolly, and I went this time with a 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches down the middle, and we're going to have a card that opens this way. Then what I did is I reached for I wanted some designer series paper that was green and just kind of a all over subtle print. And so I found this. This was from Dandy Designs, which has been retired. But all you need to do is search your designer series papers, especially look at the back sides, and look for a green DSP. This happens to be Granny Apple Green, but I'm using it with Lemon Lime Twist ink, and it looks fantastic. So remember that even though the colors of paper and ink and cardstock are designed to coordinate, sometimes you can go outside that a little bit and the colors will still look good. For instance, the Granny Apple Green with the Lemon Lime Twist. Now, this was a scrap, and it's a good size scrap, and so I didn't want to cut it down, but it wasn't quite the size that I would typically start with. So normally I would have cut this to be a little bit larger and fit a little bit differently on my card base. But since it was already this size, I decided I would just use it. There aren't any rules anyway. No measuring police are coming to my door because I used a different measurement for this layer. I then took a white piece of cardstock and trimmed it down slightly smaller so that it will fit on that layer. All right, there's the layers, and just so that you know, if you open the description box below this video, there are the notes and the directions and the map of where to find all of this information. All right, then I have another piece of white cardstock, and this piece is going to be the inside panel. Now, another thing I was excited about is this is about the smallest scrap size that I will keep when I'm chopping up basic white cardstock. because you get much smaller than that and there's just too many of them. I'm going to end up with tons of pieces that are teeny. So this is about the smallest, but I did have some pieces that were a little smaller that I had saved in my scrap bin. These are only a 1/2 inch wide, and they came in just perfectly for our die cutting. So I was able to use this small rectangle from Textured Notes and put it on the 1/2 inch strip, run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I got my die cut that I wanted. So that was really excited. So now a 1/2 inch strip will probably be the smallest size that I save when I have my little white scraps. All right, we're going to stamp on this little piece. And I'm using stamps all from Hooray for Surprises. And I'll use my Lemon Lime Twist ink on this. And we're just going to put our words right onto here. Now, if you're following along and you want to make this card, but you don't have these dies, just get a 1/2 inch strip by about 3.5 inches. So just a rectangle. It won't be quite as cute as my little die cut rectangle, but it would work. All right, and then I'm trying to stamp that right in the middle of my piece, like so. All right, even though we're using a little piece of Designer Series paper as a layer, we are going to next create kind of a background paper on this white piece. So I'm going to bring in a big piece of copy paper just to serve as a little a little piece under here to catch any stamping that goes off of the edges. All right, so this is just my scratch paper. I've got my lemon lolly and that flower that I had never used before today. I used the cake, I used the heart, I used most of the words, but I do have many floral stamp sets, and so I would reach for a different flower. So I never used this one, and now that I have, I'm really excited about it. All right, I'm using Lemon Lolly and Lemon Lime Twist, but to make this card, you can just pick any 2 colors that you want that look good together. Okay, this is just really bright and cheery. When I do a piece where I'm basically making a background paper, I like to move my stamp around, stamping off the edge of my white cardstock, sometimes only stamping on an edge like that. I just keep moving the stamp around, and also sometimes I turn the stamp so that the image isn't going in the same direction all over. Oh, that little noise is my robot vacuum that just decided to take off and move across my studio floor. That's funny. That's only happened once before. All right, well, we're going to let that little background noise not detour us because I want to keep going. And it's going to leave the room here in a second. All right, there's my large yellow flowers all over the white piece. Very easy, very fast. Now I'm going to come in with a small flower from that same set. And now using my green ink, I'm just going to fill in. This part to me is just so much fun because you are just kind of freestyling it. Getting as many or as few of that smaller flower as you think it needs. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I get some out on the edge. And let's just go with that. I don't want to overdo it. Sometimes when you're creating a print and you keep filling, then it makes you feel like you need more, and then you keep filling, and before long it's over full. So let's stop with that. All right, this piece is going to get glued onto my piece of green Designer Series paper. Ah, look how pretty that green and yellow looks. All right, and I'm going to center this piece right onto this piece. Like so. And then this one gets to go onto the front of the card. And now we can see how unique it is that this layer didn't end up with the normal proportions that I would normally do, and I actually love it. So it has a smaller border top and bottom and a wider border on the left and right, and I think it looks really nice. So I'm excited that I stuck with the size of that designer series paper and just went with it. Okay, this seemed to not be folded very good. I don't think I used my bone folder prior. All right. Getting our little sentiment that we already stamped. This is simply going to go right here. You are simply amazing. Now I'm going to show you a card at the end where I went ahead and added my words, and then I put a twine bow on here, and it looks stinking adorable. So I will show you that one, but let's do something different on this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some dimensionals on the back, and I'm going to use small ones on here, and I want quite a few of them. We're still going to use some twine, but we're not going to tie a bow. And we'll see how it's looking. If we like it, we'll roll with it. And if it's not great, then be sure and stay to the end so you can see the other card that I already know looks great. Okay, so I've got a bunch of my mini Stampin' Dimensionals on there. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the backings because I need them sticky so that we can do the little baker's twine effect that we're going to do. Okay, so those have all been removed. And then what I'm going to do is take that lemon lolly twine. This comes in a 3-pack along with, I think it's Pool Party and Flirty Flamingo. It's a pink, a blue, and the yellow. I'm sure this is lemon lolly. All right, now what I'm going to do, and this is very easy, so if it's your first time, I don't want you to freak out doing it, because if you don't like it, you can always pull the twine up and try again. But what I'm going to do is kind of zigzag and weave my twine so that it's going to stick out behind our words. And I'm using the stickiness of the dimensionals to just kind of tack it into place. Okay, I want to vary my little loops. I don't want them to match. So you can see that I have a loopier one here and then a shallower loop here. And I'm going to come this way. And then I think I'm going to let this have an extra little loop. We'll see what that looks like. It just kind of twisted, and I'm going to leave it. And then this one is kind of big down here, so I do want to anchor both ends and not have it look lopsided. So I'm going to make a little bit of a bigger loop down here. And hopefully one more little loop like this. All right, now I'm going to take a peek and see what it looks like before I cut my twine off of the spool and before we commit, so we can just see what it's going to look like. So I'm going to flip that over, and you can see it just looks loopy and kind of scrolled. I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and commit. So I'm going to cut my twine. At this point, only because I used a lot of the stickiness on these two to hold my twine, I'm going to add 2 more dimensionals in there just to be sure that this is going to stick once we get it on the card. All right, so I'm going to add one here. Do you see what I'm saying? Because the dimensional is so small, I crisscrossed the twine a couple times on it. There's not a lot of sticky surface that is still showing. All right, so I just added 2 more. That might have been overkill, but I want to make sure that this sticks once we get it into place. Okay, that was kind of delicate, like doing little card surgery there. All right, so I'm going to flip this over, determine my placement on the card. I do want the end hanging off this green paper. I'll show you. I want this end hanging off the green. So I will put it way over here on the yellow side, and then I'm going to press each of those dimensionals down. I just think that that looks so whimsical, kind of haphazard. It's a cute little twine treatment. If you've never tried it before, make sure that you try it this time. Okay, I pressed those dimensionals down a little extra more than typical, just because they've got that thickness of the twine behind them. And there you have it. Let's stamp something on the inside. I'm going to do 1 yellow flower. And I know it's going to hang off the edge, so tuck this back underneath. And I'll add a couple of those little green ones. Like so, and we'll put that on the inside of the card to finish it off. If you're inclined, you could definitely add some embellishments to this. I can imagine some kind of pale yellow sequins that we have. Those would look really pretty on here. Of course, rhinestones, just go with anything. Or maybe you have something else in your stash that you would want to add. I'm going to leave mine embellishment or gem free, keeping in mind that this is supposed to be fast and easy. All right, so there's my inside panel, and there's the front of our fast and easy card for today. Now I do want to show you the other one where this is just finished slightly different, and that one looks like this. So you can see that I placed my words, still popped up with dimensionals, and then I took 14 inches of this twine, and this was actually probably left over when Parakeet Party was one of our colors. And you can see I still have quite a bit of it. So I took 14 inches of it, folded it in half and cut it. So I was working with 2 7-inch lengths. And then with those 7-inch lengths, I tied a bow and attached it with a little glue dot. So you can see this one is a little bit cleaner looking, and this one is a little bit more whimsical looking. And that is our Simply Saturday card for today. As I always do, I'll put some information for you in the description box below this video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy stamping.